Chapter 13, How? Symbiosis. I hope you're questioning your management beliefs and establishing a new basis for the way of thinking about business. Let's build on that. There's a fundamental next step in how you think about business. You likely know Simon Sinek's golden circle. All businesses know what they do, some know how, but few know why, so start with why. Most of us are familiar with that concept, and when we add the concept to our ideology, and work to obtain our why. We've all done that. So what's next? The how. Warning, I'm about to get into some systems theory here. In the next few pages, you might want to listen to or read a couple of times. I rewrote them more than a dozen times to try to make this as clear as possible. First, all business is the same. Transformation. Every business utilizes materials and their expertise known as inputs, and they transform those through a system of interconnected and dependent processes called throughput. The throughput successively converts inputs into outputs of inventory, code, deliverables, or services. The objective of an output is to derive value for the customer in the form of an outcome. An outcome obtained creates a transaction of the exchange of value for the business. The client receives what they wanted, and you get what you want. Value, both perceived and actual, is a combination of quality, utility, and novelty. And when effectively packaged into an output, this combination creates a vehicle that obtains profit. Now, outcomes are separate from outputs, and they're subjective to them. Outputs don't guarantee profit, but outcomes do. Suppose your package of value is in demand by customers. In that case, they seek out that outcome and you present the product to them at the right time or with the right message. They'll purchase those outputs from you. And if their outcomes are as anticipated, you created value for the customer. And if you repeat this process enough times and the cost of transformation is less than what the customer is willing to pay, well, then you generate a profit. The outcome, not the output, is the reason you exist. It's your why. The outcome is what satisfies a customer. Throughput is your how. Once the customer and company agree on a transaction price, the only way to make more profit is by optimizing your how. The how is the method that, when optimized, increases certainty, reduces risks, and produces margin. Inputs, throughputs, outputs, that's a system. Systems are everywhere, and everything is a system. A system combines multiple action components to produce a result that achieves a specific outcome. If a project consistently achieves a sufficient outcome, we call it a process. A linked series of processes form your systems, or as you might call them, departments. Systems are the result of components working together to achieve a goal. Each result is a dependent event and relies on the optimization of the results preceding it to determine its output. The preceding results are completely dependent on the speed of its predecessor. The slowest step in your process dictates the speed of the entire system. I want to repeat that. The slowest step controls everything. If you fix that, the whole machine moves faster. If you increase the speed of the slowest result in the process, you immediately affect the speed of the entire system. The point is so important that I've got to spend a few minutes on it. You grind to grow, marketing, sales, new products, research, branding, more revenue, more people, more software, more compliance, more culture, more work hours in the office. And what's left at the end of the day is just a few cents in margin. But what if the same people could do 5, 10, 15% more work? What if it was 30, 40, or 60%? Revenues would go up, costs would go down. Instead of $1 in sales making 5 or 10 cents profit, $1 in sales creates 20, 40, 60 cents in profit. Or what if the cost stayed the same, but the satisfaction, balance, and retention went up by those amounts? Ben Franklin's quoted as saying, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." Well, an ounce of investment in automating, abbreviating, and optimating that slowest step, it's worth a pound of profit. A system of the systems is a business. Many of you think of systems as software. While software might indeed be a system, for the premise of this book, systems are a combination of processes that work together to deliver an output. Your how involves understanding, analyzing, controlling, and intentionally designing these events and their interdependencies and or dependent events to produce value. For example, a coffee shop combines beans, milk, cups, machinery, and expertise, labor to produce a product that provides value, perceived or actual. And this value could be higher quality, a better selection than you could make at home. It might be the rapid delivery, the utility of caffeine, or the novelty, such as brand pride, like Coke, Tesla, Rolex, Starbucks, Apple. And the same theory applies for software companies. Your input might be brain power and code, and your inventory might be SaaS capacity. In the end, the whole process of value creation is transformation. The how is the key to profitability, competitive advantage, and employee satisfaction. Understanding your how will transform you, place you at the helm, give you control, understanding, and the ability to navigate the business landscape. There is no better kryptonite for stress and failure than understanding your how. Start with why is great, but how is where you win. Why is your offense? How is your defense? So how is your defense? Not only how, but who controls the how? Systems exist everywhere, but very few are the result of intentional design. Most systems emerge from adaptation, evolution, and mutations, all of which create variation. This variation in turn leads to inconsistencies and variance in both your and the customer's experience, and affects the output quality and value. If you act with agency or control over the system, you are its designer. If the system has emerged outside your control, then you're just a slave to the results of its variation. When combined together, variations create stress and eventual failure. Systems determine your destiny, and given that 70% of businesses fail, don't you want to leave your destiny in the hands of forces that could lead it to fail? Systems will always become less and less efficient over time if left unattended. If you don't design the system owns you. If you're not in control, you're at the mercy of its variations, inefficiencies, and failures. To hold agency over the system, we've got to become engineers, designers, and artists. To control a business, it's necessary to control its variation, and doing so creates certainty. The optimization of business systems and departments to attain more value and create better outcomes, it's fundamental to that system's continued existence. Now, friction exists inside any system at points where there are interactions between people and process, and reducing friction, that's the responsibility of management. And as the business matures, the leadership of the organization needs to devote its time to resolving and greasing these friction points as well. Aligning your company's goals with your people's goals, not vice versa. It's the way to attract talent and create long-term value. It's the path to escaping the cycle of fear and finance, and it unlocks your people's want to. The role of management is to control variation and provide resources and improvements to the system by analyzing relationships, patterns, paths, and key moments through direct interactions with customers and employees performing and experiencing the work. Empowering employees to operate as scouts, gathering critical information that influences the ongoing design and symbiosis of the system. These actions involve observing and designing sequences, durations, repetitions, and transitions within the system to optimize its flow and performance. By understanding how these elements interact, management can identify constraints and enhance processes and ensure continuous improvement. And that leads to more predictable and efficient outcomes. Management is a thermometer of prediction. Great management is a thermostat that affects variation. Now, you can embrace your why and still end up broke. But knowing your how, well, that's what keeps you in control. That's what makes you resilient. Resilient in control and agents of their outcome. Knowing the how allows you to recognize when variation is at play quickly. It serves as your oracle. It alerts you to the issues when they're small and easy to manage, preventing those sparks from turning into fires. The how sets up your system's upper and lower limits and allows you to understand what's in your control and what the system automatically provides. The AC3DS. All businesses perform a series of core functions: attract, convince, clarify, create, deliver, and service. A framework we call the AC3DS. AC3DS provides a lens for viewing a business through its functional relationships to customer-centric operations. Every organization engages in these functions, and some through full departments, others with just a simple checkbox or email. However, a company missing any of these elements will struggle to scale. Clarity is often the most overlooked aspect of customer experience optimization. While some businesses emphasize certain aspects of AC3DS more than others, all successful business transformations move through these stages in order to generate value